Hi guys, this is Jojo from SC2News bringing you part 2 of the interview with Robert Clotworthy, aka Jim Raynor. Enjoy! What sort of preparation or research do you do to voice Jim Raynor, or are you just that awesome that you can just wing it?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a certain element of winging it.
Yeah.
But to wing it, you have to put in the work and be prepared to wing it. So, first and foremost, I am an actor. I've been doing it a long, long time. I've done a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, stage plays. I mean, you name it, I've done it. I've worked out in a lot of theater groups, done scene study, taken a lot of classes, worked with a lot of working professionals. Mm-hmm. So I put in my time and effort to learn the craft. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is one of Picasso's. And he said he studied his entire life to learn how to paint like a child. Yeah, exactly. And what happens is, once you put in the effort, I don't care what you're doing, whether you're, an athlete would be a great analogy. They don't just go out onto the soccer field, for example, and are great. They have to practice a lot. But when they're out there on the soccer field, they have to really let go. They can't be thinking about too much about what they're specifically doing. They have to be thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. It has to be very organic. If they're thinking about it, they're going to be too slow. Yeah. They're not going to be able to, to do what they need to do to be successful. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I wing it. When you go into the recording session, you have to trust that all the work that you've put in as far as being a good actor is going to come out there when you need it. Yeah. But at the same time, when it comes to Raynor, I understand. Well, another nice quote that I like to use as a template for myself is one that Harrison Ford used when he talked about the way that he approaches a movie role. Mm-hmm. He says, "I look at and see what my how my character services the script, because that tells you where you are in the story as to what your function is." And in StarCraft, Jim Raynor obviously is the hero. Yeah. But then the next question is, what kind of a hero is he? Mm-hmm. Well, he is what they call a reluctant hero. Mm-hmm. He's not the kind of guy that just goes out there and does things because he's a superhero and wants to save the world. No. Yeah. He is really a guy that would much prefer to be left alone. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to really cause a lot of waves or problems. He just wants to live his life quietly and not get involved. Mm-hmm. But circumstances force him to become involved. Mm-hmm. And he's not the kind of guy that's going to turn away from a fight. Mm-hmm. He's not timid in that regard. Mm-hmm. So when you start thinking about that, then you start slowly building a characterization that works with that. You start thinking about all these different elements. Chris Metzen and Andrea Romano, who is the director of the sessions, fills in the gaps for me as far as the storyline is concerned, so I understand who this person is or what the background history of that relationship might be. And then I guess the last thing that comes into play is the vocalization, because then at that point it's just you've got your attitude set, you have your understanding as to what you're supposed to accomplish in a specific part of the story. Then you start working on the vocalization as to how you portray that. And with Raynor, I thought of him as a guy that rarely loses his temper. He's pretty cool, but he's also he's a leader in that he doesn't look to see if he's being followed. Yeah. He's also not he's not necessarily the smartest guy on the block, but he's the most determined guy. He's not going to give up. And you start adding all of that, and then you eventually have a characterization and a character that hopefully works. Yeah. So it's a lot of elements that have to come in. And the last little piece that I like to do is when I go into the recording session, when I see the script, I don't like to see the script in advance. Okay. All right. I don't want to know what I'm going to be doing that day. Okay. Because I'm also a fan of the game. and a fan of the story. So when I see that something is happening, I think about what my initial reaction is as a viewer as a fan. And maybe I'm a little bit surprised at an event. So that little quiet little voice in my head says, maybe you should add a little bit of surprise into this scene. Because that's the truth. And that's always, as an actor, what you want to convey is the truth in any particular scene. And it seems easy, but it's probably the most difficult thing to do because we aren't necessarily always honest people.
Yeah. Now these are some really, really deep insights into your work and
also
Jim Raynor's character. Yeah.
And also as a voice actor, you're really limited in the tools that you have because essentially you have your voice.
Exactly.
You can't rely on the way that you look to do anything for you when you're vocalizing a character. It's got to be all there in your voice. So you have to be very, very aware of that, and also understand that the microphone is incredibly sensitive.
Yeah.
A lot of novice actors come in there and they're projecting too much and they're adding way more than they need to, and it comes off as, really it's off-putting.
Yeah.
So you really have to be very sensitive, and there's many scenes in the game, especially that last scene where I'm with Kerrigan, where it literally is a whisper. I mean, it's a quiet little whisper that I'm giving to her because it's a very intimate, quiet moment that is basically between him and her, and we're just allowing the audience to share in that, but it's not for them. It's between her and I. Yeah. And everybody else is kind of eavesdropping on it. And I think that's kind of what makes it so powerful, is that they realize that it's just a man talking to a woman in a very intimate manner. Yeah. And, all the experiences that they've both been through, the battle that they fought culminates in this quiet little peaceful moment. I mean, this is what
very powerful.
I mean, this is what Raynor was fighting so hard for.
Yeah.
Was just to hold her in his arms again and essentially tell her that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And as an actor, those are the kind of moments you really relish and hope for. Because too often in video games, we're doing nothing more than just screaming and yelling and shooting people and doing grunts and groans.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, I was going to ask how much Robert Clotworthy is in Jim Raynor and how much of Jim Raynor is Robert Clotworthy, but you answered that perfectly already.
I mean, it's hard to separate because, I know I'm playing another character, but I have to bring in my personal experience and my, the experiences that I've had in my life, because we've all been there. We've all experienced loss. Or if we haven't experienced loss, we're fearful of experiencing loss, or we're going to experience loss in our lives. So it's a universal experience.
Yeah.
And I just have to personalize that in a way where I'm not just saying words on a piece of paper, but I'm saying the words with meaning, where I'm really talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And so, you really can't separate yourself. The good actors, really don't. They don't turn it on and off that quickly.
Yeah.
It's to really dig deep, you have to kind of let the door slowly open and walk through it.
What feature of Jim Raynor do you identify with most? I mean, I can see that Jim Raynor is Robert Clotworthy in its entirety. I mean, as a role. But what feature is it that you share?
Well, first let me say I take the playing of the role very seriously because I understand how important this character is to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he is a hero that I think is lacking in the world right now. He's the kind of guy that you'd really want as a friend, because that if the shit hit the fan, this guy would be there for you. But he's also going to tell you the truth. He's not going to let you off easy. And he's a great moral, I guess he's a good role model for people. Yeah, I know he drinks too much. Yeah, he smokes a lot. but everybody's got their vices.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at his core, he's an honest person, and he's going to do what's right, whether that benefits him or not.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily out for himself. So as far as the attributes, I can't say that I am, Jim Raynor in that regard. But those are some of the qualities that I aspire to, that I admire in people. And so that, I guess, is the closest I can come to being that character, is saying, hey, I would like to have those qualities.
Yeah.
I'm working on those qualities, and I'm cognizant of it when I'm lacking in those qualities.
Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of an answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Has anyone ever recognized you just by the sound of your voice without knowing what you look like? Like, I'm imagining a scene right now in my head with someone going or walking along the street going like, oh my God, I hear Jim Raynor. I must be playing too much StarCraft or something like that.
It's kind of rare because, I look nothing like Jim Raynor. James Harper, who plays Mengsk in the game, he looks a lot like Mengsk. I mean, it's really kind of scary. But I look nothing like this guy. So I think there's this disconnect. I can even be telling people, I'm the voice, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, saying that's impossible. So, perhaps, but I don't think anybody would necessarily go, oh, by the way, excuse me, are you? Because it just makes no sense. In fact, there was I have a fairly good Facebook fan page following and a Twitter page where I send out tweets to people. Yeah. And a guy sent me a message and said, "Oh, on this website they're talking about you. You should go on it and say hi." Yeah. Well, I went onto the site and there were a few people that were, I don't know, I don't want to say talking some smack, but they were commenting that, hey, the guy doesn't look anything like Raynor and blah blah blah. Yeah. And I made a joke of it and I said, hey, what's the matter, guys? Can't Raynor put on a tie once in a while? So, no, to be honest with you, I don't know. If they have, they certainly have not come up to me and said that. Yeah. How much StarCraft have you actually played in your life? I'm an impatient guy. That's one of my vices. Yeah. And I'm really impatient when it comes to computers. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people. I go from 0 to, DEFCON 5 in about 30 seconds. Yeah. The computer's not working right. Yeah. So I remember they sent me the first version of StarCraft, 10 plus years ago. Yeah. And I started to play a little bit and I got incredibly frustrated because, I kept dying or whatever the heck was happening. And they kindly gave me all the cheat codes. All right. I knew I could give myself unlimited power and, nothing could defeat me. So I could literally just burn through the game to get to the next chapter of where I came in as the voice of Raynor. It's like an actor. When, the joke is we get a script and we're looking at the script and we go, okay, it's my line. Bullshit, 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 my line. Bullshit, my line. Yeah. you look to see where you are first. Definitely, And I have not had the opportunity to really play this new version of the game because since it's come out, I've been, to be honest with you, I've been pretty swamped. Yeah. And it's also a very complex game. It is. It definitely is. Yeah. It's not, something you throw on an Xbox and you just have a joystick and two buttons and you shoot a gun. Now you really have to start thinking about it. And I'm also one of those people, if I started playing it seriously, I'd never stop. Yeah, I can absolutely see that point. I mean, I'm in university right now and I oftentimes tell myself, shouldn't you be doing work right now? And obviously you look up and it's, 4:00 in the morning. Think, wait a minute. I've got things I need to do in a few hours. Exactly. I've got to stop. Yeah. But I have a copy. Mm-hmm. I will put it into my new computer and I will give it a go. Yeah. And I've watched some of the pros play and also it's pretty intimidating when you watch these pro players play the game. Yeah. Man, they are good. Yeah, definitely.